It was certain death to attempt to open it, that is, for one who did not know how. Such machines were common enough in the Middle Ages. There was an obvious way to open it. It was meant to be obvious. To open it that way was inevitable death. It released tremendous springs that crushed anything within a radius of 5 feet. You saw that? " I did," said the deputy, and he shuddered as he spoke. Then, bringing his fierce face within an inch of the cowering Ormiston, he said, " You knew the secret spring by which that safe could be opened as simply as a shoe box, eh? " Ormiston nodded his head. " But Godahl did not," he said. " Having recognized this terrible chest," went on the author, " I guessed it must be the hiding place of the jewel, for 2 reasons. In the first place, Mrs. Wentworth had avoided showing it to us. She passed it by as a mere bit of curious furniture. Second, it was too big to go through the door or any one of the windows. They must have gone to the trouble of taking down the wall to get that thing in there. Something of a task, too, considering it weighs about 2 tons. You didn't bring out that point in your story." " Didn't I ? I fully intended to." " Maybe," said the deputy, watching his man sharply, " it so impressed your friend who paid your car fare to New Haven that he clipped it out of the manuscript when he borrowed it." " There is no humor in this affair, sir, if you will pardon me," said Ormiston. " That is quite true. Go ahead." " The rest you know. Godahl, in my story the thief in real life had to sacrifice a life to open that chest. So he corrupted a small kitchen servant, filling his pockets with these other jewels, and told him to touch the spring." " You murdered that man in cold blood," said the deputy, rising and pacing the floor. " The poor deluded devil, from the looks of what s left of him, never let out a whimper, never knew what hit him. Here, take some more of this brandy. Your nerves are in a bad way." " What I can t make out is this," said Ormiston, after a time. " There was $1,000,000 worth of stuff in that room that could have been put into a quart measure. Why did not this thief, who was willing to go to all the trouble to get the white ruby, take some of the jewels? Nothing is missing besides the white ruby, as I understand it. Is there?" " No," said the deputy, " not a thing. Here comes a messenger boy." " For Mr. Ormiston ? Yes," he said to the entering maid. The boy handed him a package, for which the deputy signed. " This is for you," he said, turning to Ormiston as he closed the door. " Open it." When the package was opened, the first object to greet their eyes was a roll of bills. " This grows interesting," said Burns. He counted the money. $39. Your friend evidently is returning the money he stole from you at the station. What does he have to say for himself? I see there is a note." He reached over and took the paper out of Ormiston's hands. It was ordinary bond stationery, with no identifying marks of any consequence. The note was written in bronze ink, in a careful copperplate hand, very small and precise. It read, "Most Excellency Sir, herewith most honored dollars I am dispatching complete. Most Excellency Sir, herewith most honored dollars I am dispatching complete. Regretful extremely of sad blood being not to be prevented. Accept trifle from true friend." That was all. "There's a jeweler's box," said Burns. " Open it." Inside the box was a lozenge shaped diamond, about the size of a little finger nail. It hung from a tiny bar of silver, highly polished and devoid of ornament. On the back, under the clasp pin, were several microscopic characters. There were several obvious clues to be followed. The messenger boy, the lawyers who induced the deaf butler to go to Ireland on what later proved to be a wild goose chase, the employment agency through which the new butler had been secured, and so on. But all of these avenues proved too respectable to yield results. Deputy Burns had early arrived at his own conclusions by virtue of the knowledge he had gained as government agent. Yet to appease the popular indignation He kept up a desultory search for the criminal. It was natural that Armiston should think of his friend Johansen at this juncture. Johansen possessed that wonderful Oriental capacity for aloofness which we Westerners are so ready to term indifference, or lack of curiosity. " No, I thank you," said Johansen. " I'd rather not mix in." The pleadings of the author were in vain. His words fell on deaf ears. " If you will not lift a hand because of your friendship for me," said Armiston bitterly, " then think of the law. Surely there is something due justice when both robbery and bloody murder have been committed." " Justice ?" cried Johansen in scorn. " Justice, you say ? My friend, if you steal from me, and I reclaim by force that which is mine, is that injustice? If you cannot see the idea behind that, surely, then, I cannot explain it to you." " Answer one question," said Armiston. " Have you any idea who the man was I met on the train ?"" For your own peace of mind, yes. As a clue leading to what you so glibly term justice, to night s sundown would be easier for you to catch than this man, if I know him. Mind you, Armiston, I do not know. But I believe. Here is what I believe. In a dozen courts of kings and petty princelings that I know of in the East there are Westerners retained as advisers. Fiscal agents they are usually called. Usually they are American or English, or occasionally German. Now I ask you a question. Say that you were in the hire of a heathen prince, and a grievous wrong were done that prince, say, by a thoughtless woman who had not the least conception of the beauty of an idea she had outraged. Merely for the possession of a bauble, valueless to her except to appease vanity, she ruthlessly wrote down a superstition that was as holy to this prince as your own belief in Christ is to you. What would you do?" Without waiting for Armiston to answer, Johansen went on. " I know a man. You say this man you met on the train had wonderful hands, did he not?" " Yes, I thought so, Armiston." " I know a man who would not sit idly by and smile to himself over the ridiculous fuss occasioned by the loss of an imperfect stone, off color, badly cut, and everything else. Neither would he laugh at the superstition behind it. He would say to himself, * This superstition is older by several thousand years than I or my people.' And this man, whom I know, is brave enough to right that wrong himself if his underlings failed." " I follow," said Armiston dully. " But," said Johansen, leaning forward and tapping the author on the knees, " but the task proved too big to him. What did he do? He asked the cleverest man in the world to help him. And Godahl helped him. That," said Johansen, interrupting Armstrong with a raised finger, " is the story of the White Ruby. The story of the White Ruby, you see, is something infinitely finer than mere vulgar robbery and murder, as the author of the infallible Godahl conceived it." Johansen said a great deal more. In the end he took the lozenge shaped diamond pendant and put the glass on the silver bar, that his friend might see the inscription on the back. He told him what the inscription signified, " Brother of a king," and furthermore, how few men alive possess the capacity for brotherhood. " I think," said Armiston, as he was about to take his leave, " that I will travel in the Straits this winter." " If you do," said Johansen, " I earnestly advise you to leave your Godahl and his decoration at home." End of Section 19 of The American Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. End of Part 2 of The Infallible Godahl by Frederick Irving Anderson.